Can't hear me, I will use it. I'll put it on here. My name is Linda Cotter. I teach at a Catholic school.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of Ohio. My name is Carrie Chapman Catt. Do you realize that when you ask women to take their cause to state referendum, you drive women of education, refinement, achievement to beg men who cannot read for their political freedom? Do you realize that such anomalies as a college president asking her janitor to give her a vote are overstraining patience and driving women to desperation? Do you realize that women in increasing numbers indignantly resent the long delay in their enfranchisement? What our great movement needs now is a mobilization spirit, the jubilant, glad spirit of victory. Let us sound a bugle call here and now for the women of the nation. The women's hour has struck. Let the bugle sound from the suffrage headquarters. Let the call go forth. Let it be repeated in every article written, in every speech made, in every conversation held. The political emancipation of our sex calls you women of Ohio. Are you content that others shall pay the price of your liberty? Women in schools and in counting houses, in shops and on the farm, women in the home with babes at their breasts, and women engaged in public careers will hear. The veins of American women are not filled with milk and water. Your party platforms have pledged women's suffrage. Then why not be honest, frank friends of our cause? Adopt it in reality as your own. Make it a party program and fight with us. As a party measure, a measure of all parties, why not put the amendment through Congress and the legislatures? If parties prefer to postpone action longer and thus do battle with this idea, they postpone the inevitable. The idea will not perish. The group which opposes it may. Every delay, every trick, every political dishonesty from now on will antagonize the women of the land more and more. And when the party or parties which have so delayed women's suffrage finally let it come, their sincerity will be doubted, and their appeal to the new voters will be met with suspicion. This is the psychology of the situation. Can you afford the risk? Think it's over. Thank you.
Good morning. I am President Woodrow Wilson. I am here to give the people of Ohio a preview of my speech in support of suffrage. In the past, I have not really known of the issue of suffrage. I was too focused on the situation in Europe. Now that we are at war, I have been made aware of the many injustices women must endure. This is a people's war. They think that democracy means that women shall play their part alongside men and upon an equal footing with them. If we reject measures like this in ignorant defiance of what a new age has brought forth, it will cease to follow us or trust us. During wartime, we ask of them the same During wartime, we ask of them the same patriotism and support that we ask of men. It is only fair that we extend the same privileges and responsibilities of citizenship. This amendment now has my full support. Thank you.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, will you stand up and curtsy and bow to your audience? Okay. I told them to be prepared for questions. So, you can turn around and face your audience here.
Don't be acting.
Does anyone have any questions for them about either what they learned or anything else? Do you have anything you want to say? Anybody? What do you want to say?
I want to say thank you to them for all coming.
Okay. Mia?
I want to say that you are a fantastic teacher, Ms. Cotter.
Okay. Thank you. Very nice. Thank you very much. How about what you learned or this experience? I'll take all the compliments later. Vanessa.
We learned that in 1820, that's when women got their right to vote, and they were then went back in the day. They like the men. They didn't want the ladies to vote.
All right. President Wilson.
I learned that back then they had to wear a lot of
Emma Goldman.
Well, this project was very interesting for all of us.
Yeah.
Most of us probably didn't know that women's suffrage nobody knew it went on in this small group beforehand, and the great injustices done to women. And I also think it brought us together as a class more, because in the beginning we probably all disliked each other very much. Now there's a slight bit of friendship somewhere in between those lines.
I think Emily is destined for the stage. Yes. So, Mia.
I learned that during the war, many people got hurt, but women actually, Clara Barton, she actually was the starter of the Red Cross, and she had it hard, but then she went off good.
They did learn about a lot of women that aren't represented, and men that aren't represented here today. Okay, Carrie.
Well, I actually learned a lot about the 19th Amendment, and that women were treated very unfairly, and that men considered themselves gods, but women were just
That did not come from her teacher. That came from all her research. Yes.
What was the turnout in the first election for women in 1920?
I am not sure. I do know that,
What it was?
yeah, maybe some of the teachers in here know. Does anybody know what the turnout was for women? There was a huge number that didn't think they should vote and didn't turn out. I do know that. Any other comments? Yes.
What was the hardest thing about this project? Over the 6 weeks, what was really
Point at somebody. Just point at someone.
Yeah, Sarah back here.
Yeah. The hardest thing. Ugh.
You can be honest. You don't have her as a teacher anymore.
That's right. He can be honest
Finish
anyway.
these clothes.
Yeah,
They're
clothes.
so hard. You have clothes. And also memorizing these speeches.
Yes,
Social studies and learning about the different wars, like the Gettysburg Birds War.
that's the Civil War.
The Civil War. Yes. Yes. We learned that wars delayed suffrage, right? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
The packet, I think,
Yeah.
because I had to redo it, do the essay.
When we tested that the teacher was giving us on the war, we had to study a long time. And them taxes were real hard.
Honestly, all of it was very challenging, from what everybody has said. But now, learning all of the stuff that we did, I can randomly recite just random facts about the Civil War. I actually did that one time. I was in the Michael's Arts and Crafts store. Very random place. And I asked the lady who was checking our stuff out, do you know the actual number of boys who fought in the Civil War? She didn't know. I answered for her.
What is that?
35.
Wow.
35.
Boys, not
Oh, you mean under the age?
Under the age of 10.
Mom, she called you a little boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, one at a time. Go ahead. President Wilson.
I would have to say staying cool.
Mia?
I can keep all the clothes on. Like my house gets hot down there.
Anything else about the learning process? Vanessa?
Oh, yeah. Well, about learning, I mean, we watched the movie and it was kind of, I mean, I liked it at the beginning, but it gets kind of intense. So, just, whatever.
You're giving them a caution if they watch it,
Watch
yes.
it, just be like caution. Read the box.
Read the box.
Read the box.
Read the box.
There's like, it's crazy.
Mia?
I know when the war started and when the war ended. The war started at 1861.
Are you talking about the Civil War, not women's suffrage right
Yeah.
now?
The Civil War started at 1861 and ended at 1865.
Another random fact.
Yeah, she told me that.
All right.
I forgot it, so.
Vanessa?
I remember when we were watching the movie when the ladies were picketing the White House, the men, the women, they didn't like yell or anything. They just stood there and held up their banners, and the men came and like they would spit on them, and then the cops came and they arrested ladies, and then they made them do all these things, and like they ate horrible stuff like
At the workhouse?
yeah, at the workhouse there was like stuff with it was like gray with worms in it. It was
Yeah.
gross, like
Conditions at the new women's workhouse were really bad, and they show that in the movie. Yes, Emma.
Well, on the note of when they were picketing, it was pretty clever to use the own president's word against them. It was, I admire that, actually. And I was reading a book where they had police brutality in it. It was about the shirtwaist triangle factory, is it?
Yes.
About that. And
Oh, the one by Margaret King.
yes. That whole time period, when they were in the workhouses and in all this other stuff, and they were practically like spit on and treated like dogs. Well, some people don't. And to know that people like Alice Paul, and Miss Potter brought up a good point when we were watching the movie. Most of the women that were force-fed did not actually say anything. They were pretty silent. And that note, when that note leaked out, that was a very weird sentence. When that note leaked out, and they found out about it, a lot of the men tried to deny it. Which is like, hey, no, you can't, no, just stop while you're
In the movie, one of the prison guards takes a note and gives it to a character who's actually a composite of upper class women that lived at the time. It was in the movie, it's Senator Layton's wife. And she's the one that gives a note to her husband and that lets them know how these women are being treated. Otherwise, it would have never made it into the newspaper. And that discovery had a lot to do with the final push of the suffrage amendment. Lending credence to the idea of how much these women wanted the vote and what they were willing to go through. Okay, Azan?